Yes, the camera is now on, and I will sit here in this chair.
And I'm looking to you.
You are looking to me, and I'm looking to you.
Yes.
And when we are turning into the camera and turning into seeing this camera, we can talk directly to both Olle and Thea and all the relatives in Sweden.
Yes, I understand.
Yes. Now, this is...
Are you beginning now?
Yes.
This is the beginning of the recording.
This is the beginning of the recording, yes.
Yes.
And we are now back in the house of Frogston Terrace and in Edinburgh. And I think it is, I must count on my fingers, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 5th time I have the honor to visit you. So this is a great honor to me, and especially this year, because you have turned into 90 years old. And that's a good and a long life.
Mm-hmm.
How was your birthday? Was it, because I couldn't be here myself.
Mm-hmm. Will I speak to you for the birthday?
You can speak to me, or you can also turn to Olle and Thea and the relatives. But you can start.
First, I'll answer about the birthday.
Yes.
Well, you will remember perhaps it is also Sean's birthday.
Yes.
So he was 10 and I was 90.
Yes.
And the family took us out to a restaurant for an evening meal, and all of the family were there except my oldest grandson Joshua, who lives with his mother in France, and he could not be with us. So we had a wonderful meal all together by candlelight, and that's what happened on my birthday.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
May I now speak to, yes?
Yes.
I turn now to speak to all the ladies and gentlemen in Sweden, but especially I would like to speak to Thea and to Ollie and ask them to look at what I'm wearing, because this is the garment that they sent me for my 90th birthday, and I am delighted with it, and I thank you both very much indeed. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and love from me to both of you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Since we rediscovered each other, we have been seeing each other for 5 years, as I said before. And not only have we come to you, Johnny and Julie and the family, and also Michelle has come to us. And I haven't found a way to bring you with my magic carpet to Sweden. And maybe it doesn't work that way. But we are having contact by filming and having sounds by discs and so on, letters. I am very lousy to write letter, as you know, but you have contact now these 5 years with both Olle and Thea. You are having letter contact.
Yes, very enjoyable letters.
Yes, and this is, as we have said before, is it since the 30s when you were actually seeing Thea in Upper Norwood?
Yeah.
And you were both youth.
Yes.
So, except for some years, I think it was 1965, when Allan and Sheila were over to meet the Lundholm, Gösta and Mona Lundholm in Gothenburg at Särö.
Yes.
Except for these years, there has been no contact whatsoever between 1939 and 2001.
That's right.
Yes. And I have tried also to contact Gösta and Mona these 5 years, but they have little trouble with their health and so on. So they are having no strengths to make contacts. But I know that everyone in Sweden is in relatives are so happy about this. And not to say this, my brother Lasse.
Yes.
Wasn't he over with his wife this year?
Yes, Lasse and Brigitte came and stayed in Edinburgh for a long weekend, and they came on 2 occasions to visit me here. And if I may point, they had a very happy time looking through the photographs, which had many pictures which you know about of the Lundholm family.
Yes.
In Sweden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So they had a great time here, and it was a very good thing that they also came over, and that is another branch of the Swedish family.
Yeah.
And don't you agree when I say that this is a new, old, so to speak, old new beginning of the contact again? And I can see at the pictures hundreds years ago when in Edinburgh, or when the family was together with the Swedes. It's a resemblance of these pictures today when we are taking it, and we are over, and you are over, your family is over to Sweden, and the small children is getting together again.
Yes, indeed, it's very remarkable.
Yes, it's very remarkable. And
can I speak to the camera
of
for
course,
a moment?
of course.
I go back to something Peter said a minute or 2 ago about his magic carpet. Every time he comes, he speaks about his magic carpet, but he never produces it. However, 2 or 3 days ago, I was talking on the telephone to Karen, and she says that there was a program on television about the possibility of developing a time machine. Now, I deplore the idea myself, but nevertheless, perhaps I'll be able to disembody myself and reassemble myself in Sweden someday. Who knows? Pardon me.
Yes, that's good. That's good. This is H.G. Wells.
Yes, it was his idea.
Yes, it was his idea of this. Right. And I think these important years in the beginning of the new century and of the new millennium, we had in 2000, it was the first attempt to track a Lundholm living in Scotland for me.
This is when you became in touch with Mrs. Devine.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And also I went on the internet and I saw a Lundholm road, and it was an office with this address, and I phoned, and it was a girl answer, and I was explaining I'm a Swede and I'm related to Lundholm. Do you know where the name Lundholm is coming from, that you have this address? And she didn't know at the time anything, but she phoned back and gave me the number of Sheila and Alan now. And that was the whole beginning of the contact now.
Oh, I didn't know this, Peter. That's
yes.
very interesting. This would be Lundholm Road near the factory.
Yes.
In Ayrshire.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So that's why I could track, and she was so kind enough to phone all the way to Sweden back, because it was so easy for her just to, because she didn't know me and she was maybe busy with her work, so maybe she hadn't phoned, and then the contact couldn't have been, because it was very difficult to get the number. But then I spoke to Sheila,
yes.
and it was fantastic.
Yes.
So we have begun this millennium with the contact again.
Yes, very good.
That's very good, very good. I know that in 2001, the first year I was here, we were speaking in a disc. I was interviewing you and Alan of your youth and your and we had have that. Is it, now it's a very sudden question, but since then, and we had contact now for 5 years, is it something that you occasionally maybe have come up and thinking of to add? Because we were speaking about up in Norwood, we were speaking about your youth and your contact with Carl and Matilda, and how you were, your relations with them, and all these kinds of things. Is it anything else that comes to your mind that maybe you forgot to say or something? No, it's a very long time we spoke. It's 5 years ago, but it's something that some little thing that maybe you can add to these memories.
Oh, I can't remember now what I said about my time in South Africa, where I was born, and we left the country permanently in 1928 to come to Scotland. And I think you knew that my father worked in the Nobel's factory in the Transvaal,
Yes.
producing explosives for the Runt gold mines. Yeah. I think I've told you all that, and I don't know what to add to this. I've probably spoken about the snakes and the
Yes.
poisonous spiders and all these things,
Yes.
and the fact that the community was a mixed one. There were the natives, and there were the Afrikaners, and it was not so long after the end of the Boer War. And then there were Scots and English people as well. And I always remember, and I always like to speak again about it, that my mother and father made no difference between these different cultures and peoples. They were just friendly with all of them. And I think I told you that an Afrikaner family, a little out of the village, suffered from typhoid. And my mother, who was a doctor, she went out and did what she could to help them in their distress. And I can remember at school I had at least one good Afrikaner boyfriend, and he came to the house and we played together. And my parents were both very good with the native servants. We had a gentleman, a sort of gardener and general help, and he lived in a little corrugated iron house of his own in our garden, with a little stove of his own which he could cook and keep himself warm. And then we had a lady native servant. Her name was Selina. I can't remember where she slept, maybe in another little outhouse. But she was a great feature on Mondays, which was washing day. And you can imagine in those days an enormous boiler had to be prepared for boiling water, and all the clothes were boiled and then dried and ironed afterwards. And my father and mother were fairly strict with me, and probably with my brother too. And I remember the only occasion on which my father really gave me a big hiding was when I had been rude to Selina. And I think this is significant, is it not?
Yes.
Then Alan was born, of course, 6 years after myself. In my first 6 years, we lived in a house in what was called High Street, and then after that, we moved to another part of the village, to a detached bungalow which was called Villa Violetta. And among other things, round the villa we made a racetrack for bicycles with banked corners. You know, the corners banked.
Yes, yes, yes.
To take care of the centrifugal force.
Right.
And at that time I was being given lessons by an Afrikaner young lady to teach me Afrikaans, which I never learnt. But she came in every so often to teach me, and I think she also tried to teach me the piano. But I remember one terrible day when I was racing round the track and she was coming in the front gate and I nearly knocked her down and might have damaged her seriously. Yes, and you know about my silkworms, of course. Did I tell you?
No, I don't.
Because of my parents and my father going to and from Scotland every so often, my parents discouraged keeping pets. But I was allowed to have silkworms.
Yes, yes.
And I had a little box with a glass top, and I could watch the silkworms spinning their cocoon.
Oh.
And in the garden we had a very large mulberry tree, and we could eat the fruit of the mulberry, but the leaves were a delicacy for the silkworms. So there you are.
Yes.
If it's important,
Yes.
if it's not, it doesn't matter.
Yes, but that's a fantastic. Not any has silkworms as a pets, so that's very good. Yes,
You will
yes.
tell the world.
Yes, it will tell the world. I am so glad that you are so well now. I haven't, because I don't see you often, but I must say that you are getting. And now I'm not lying in my teeth, but you are getting younger and younger. It's impossible, I know that. It's a lie, but it seemed to me that you are a healthy man now. It's a very...
Well, I think in my spirit I'm quite healthy, and my memory is not so good and my concentration is not so good, but I think mentally I'm not too bad. It's just that the body is a little weaker than it used to be.
Of course, of course.
And I will never climb the Pentlands now.
No. But you have in your youth you have been doing a lot of, as I can understand, you have sailed using boats. I remember that I have an old picture when you are in the back of the boat with the, how do you say, rope? Yes, yes. I think it is from the 50s or 40s or something. It is a very interesting, you're looking like a real sailor.
Well, Alan, of course, my brother Alan is the real sailor.
Yes.
He has always had sailing as a hobby, and also tennis playing was another interest of his. But when he was in the Far East, he was stationed towards the end of the war. I think it was in Sydney, and he had his own little sailing boat in Sydney Harbour.
Yeah.
But after the war, he and I put some money together and we bought a small boat called Jildi.
Oh.
Jildi means hurry up, I think, in an Indian language.
Yes.
And he did all the work and the sailing on this, but I would go with him, and that was very enjoyable. And then my father became interested in the sailing, and he bought a boat which had been made in Hong Kong. And the man who got it made had it brought on a ship to Scotland when he retired from his post in Hong Kong. So my father bought this boat, which was called Phi Lung, and it had cabins on it where we could sleep. And we had one or two very pleasant cruises on the Clyde,
Yes.
the three of us.
Right. And that was in the 50s, or it's very...
Yes.
It's about... Is that from the time when... I don't know if you know what special picture I mean when I said that you were in the back of the boat and you were dressed
It
like
would be round about that time.
Yes,
I was at the university
Yes,
straight after the war until 1950.
yes,
And after 1950, I left home. I was working in hospitals
yes,
and no longer in Ayrshire.
yes,
So I didn't sail anymore after that.
no.
No.
And your profession has been as I recall, it's a psychiatrist.
Yes, yes.
Psychiatrist. So you have been. That is a special interest of the medication education medical education of
It's
that-
a specialty of medicine.
yes. So in your, how has, if you look back on your working life, so to speak, was it a good choice to be a psychiatrist?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I had the chance to go into general practice, which tempted me very much. I had two separate offers to go into general practice as an assistant when I qualified, and if I went as an assistant, then I would eventually become a partner. But I chose to go in for psychiatry, and I've never regretted it. No.
So because it is a very, as I can understand it, it's a very wide, it is a science that always changes. It's not, you cannot discover enough, because people are so different, and they have maybe you can diagnose diseases, but they are the minds of people's minds are very, as I can understand it, it's so wide. As if you imagine a world of colors in people's minds, as so to speak. So I can say it must be a much wider science than the physical the body, you know, the body and everything that you have 206 bones in your body, but you have many more thoughts in your head.
Oh yes, but I think the condition and health or illness of the body reacts on the mind,
Yes,
and disturbance in the mind can have its effect on the body.
yes,
The two things are interlocked, and in any particular person it's necessary to consider both aspects.
yes.
Yeah.
So to be well in your mind, that's how do you say it? Demand. It's a ground for to be well in your body. That's
Yes,
yes.
but it's obvious, of course, that if you have a crippling disease or a serious disease in adult life,
Yes.
then try as you will with the mind, you can't overcome that.
No.
You must live with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
How people of your generation, of course, when you are getting up to 90 years old, and I will, and as many of us will experience that your old friends are not here anymore. But do you have any particular friends in about same age that you are writing letters to? Is it somebody that has meant a lot to you that you would like to speak about?
I continue in touch by letter and telephone with a very good friend who lives in Ayrshire. He qualified in medicine before the war, or perhaps during the war, and after the war he served with the services as a short time in Japan, and after that he came to Scotland and he worked as a psychiatrist, and at one time we were in the same hospital, and he is perhaps a year or two younger than I am, but we have always got on very well together, and we keep in touch. And he used to come and see me in Edinburgh, but he's a little bit too old for this now.
Yeah.
So we use the telephone.
Yes.
Yeah.